venturing through an unknown realm, or fighting against injustice in a world overtaken by war. These are just a few things that video games can allow its player to do. Because of this, many see video games as a source of escapism. Whatever the genre may be, people use it to wind down and forget about the worries from reality. However, as video games have become increasingly popular, the urge to be inclusive to all audiences has grown. This is where silent protagonists come in. Just as the name suggests, they are the main characters that the player controls, and they are left silent for the player to insert themselves into so they can live the fantasy of playing the role of the hero. While this has been a trope throughout the entire history of video games, its usage has been growing in popularity as the demand for more engaging gameplay has increased. However, while some games succeed off of the genre, more often than not does it actually harm the game, and here's why. As video games evolve through time, so do their narratives. There has been a strong demand to create more powerful and impactful stories within the gaming community, but doing so is extremely difficult when a silent protagonist is implanted. Stories, whether they are video games or not, flourish through conversation and interactions between characters and the world around them. However, because of the silent nature of these protagonists, their interactions often fall flat. Very rarely do these characters have voice acting, so they kinda just stand there awkwardly when someone else is talking to them, staring at them with a face devoid of emotion. This just makes conversations feel one-sided, and it feels as though the characters are speaking to a brick wall rather than you. In addition, while games try to involve you by giving you options that your character can reply with, these responses hardly ever matter. Unless they are choices that decide the actual plot of the game, like when there are multiple routes that the player can explore, they all end up with the same conclusion, with a slight change of dialogue that most people probably wouldn't even notice. For example, let's look at a scene in Fire Emblem Three Houses. Here, we are given the choice of defending the capital of the character's kingdom, Ferdiad, or going straight to the general of the opposing army in Enbar to defeat them. The game makes it seem like you're about to make a crucial decision, something that will alter the fate of the war. However, no matter what you choose, you will still be forced onto the route of going straight to Enbar. If we had no choice to begin with, why waste our time by giving us one? While I understand that it is difficult to make every single option impact the story, being given useless choices makes me feel even more non-existent, as I'm forced to go along with whatever the plot demands. Instead of getting integrated into the story and the world as myself, I feel like an empty husk that's being used as a plot device and nothing more. And that's usually how it is with any other game that utilizes a silent protagonist. Digging deeper into the silent aspect of silent protagonists, apart from taking away from the narrative's potential, these characters also take away from themselves. I've already mentioned how they stand around and kill the mood of every scene they're in, but in addition to them just making everything awkward, they also prevent conversations from becoming something meaningful. Each interaction is incredibly bare-bones and only exists to progress the story. Because of this, silent protagonists have little to build on. What makes characters so powerful and endearing is their growth. But when there is no opportunity to grow, there isn't much to get to attach to. In addition, because these games don't want to make their protagonists into their own characters, they are barely given any motives or flaws, things that they can evolve from. Let's compare the protagonists of Genshin Impact and Nier Replicant. In Genshin, the main character is a traveler, while in Nier Replicant, the main character is Nier. These two have very similar goals, and that is to save and reunite with their sibling, who has been taken away from them. However, the main difference between the two is that the traveler is a silent protagonist while Nier is his own character. Although you are given the opportunity to name Nier after yourself, he very much has his own personality, motives, and voice. And that's what sets him apart from the traveler. Having your only family being torn away from you is devastating, but only Nier Replicant is able to fully express this idea. We can see exactly how much this ordeal breaks Nier down. He was once a hopeful boy who faced every upcoming day with a positive head on his shoulders. But once his sister was taken away right before his very eyes, his vengeance took over him. He slashes down anything that gets in his way with no hesitation, and will stop at absolutely nothing to rescue his sister, even if it means dooming the world. Nier's journey is emotional and heartbreaking. It throws you into loops of exactly what is morally correct. Is Nier's path the correct one, or is he causing bloodshed for the wrong reasons? Is it right to sacrifice the lives of millions for one? From this, you can clearly see and feel just how strong Nier's connection with his sister is, and how far he'll go just for her sake. But the Traveler, I feel nothing for. The Traveler's relationship with their sibling doesn't even come close to how powerful Nier's and his sister's is. And that's because the Traveler isn't given the opportunity to show that connection. They can't express how much their sibling means to them, how much they love them, or how much pain they're going through without them by their side. With Nier, I wanted to save his sister. I wanted to reunite the two, so that they can finally live a life of peace after all the suffering they've gone through. But with the Traveler, trying to find their sibling feels more of a chore than a goal. I couldn't care less about the relationship, and honestly, it seems like being torn apart doesn't affect the Traveler that much to begin with how little they react to everything. Sure, they're sad for a few cutscenes, but after that, they just return to that same dead fish stare. Contrary to what silent protagonists are supposed to accomplish, I actually felt a stronger connection with Nier than I ever did with the Traveler. Because I could see Nier's rage, pain, and despair, I could relate to him. I knew what he was thinking, what tore him down, and what got him back standing on his feet. I could sympathize with him, and that's something I couldn't do with the Traveler. Their lack of emotion and response completely separates me from them. I can relate to a human, but not the shell of one. Protagonists are often the characters who lead the narrative of a story and provide change to the world around them. They fight for a cause and they inspire the people who surround them. However, with silent protagonists, this isn't the case. While they certainly accomplish achievements within the games they're featured in, such as leading an army, fighting against corruption in positions of power, or battling a literal god, it's difficult seeing them as the charismatic people that everyone around them claims them to be. This brings us to the next issue. Games that add the player directly into their stories have the tendency to suck up to them so they can feel unique and special. This comes hand in hand with the idea of allowing the player to act as the hero of the story. However, the issue with this is that the game focuses too much on making them look good and ignoring everything else. Because of this, since there's so much screen time that is dedicated to the player, other characters lack the proper development to make them stand out as their own. Even worse is that some games actually warp the characters to make the player feel good about themselves. Let's take a look at A, another character from Genshin Impact. Before her introduction, she was described to be a cold and cruel ruler, chopping her people inside her nation with a vicious storm and stripping them of their freedom, all for the sake of eternity. She has struck down everyone who has threatened her ideals and is one of the first characters that actually oppose the main protagonist, even defeating them in battle, and then she gets turned into waifu bait. Literally. After winning in a duel against her, you straight up go on a date with her, and it's as if she never once tried to kill you. It was one of the very few characters that I was actually looking forward to meeting while playing Genshin Impact. Up until that point, every single character, including your enemies, kiss the very floor you step on and bend over backwards just to commend you, even if it doesn't fit their personalities. I thought that A would mark the beginning of characters actually posing a threat to us, but boy was I wrong. Instead of diving into a complex and morally gray character, we just get another character who's obsessed with us, despite all the things that they did before meeting us. Getting backlash for imprisoning her people and punishing anyone who disobeyed her? Nope! As long as she's friends with us, everything's okay. Oh, that's great. While having the world revolve around the main character is unfortunately a common trope in all forms of media, it's extremely prevalent when it comes to silent protagonists. Because the main character is specifically the player, the game works double time in order for them to feel special, and it all comes at the price of everyone else. It's very clear that silent protagonists are engineered to be a proxy for the player, someone that they can control and interact with the world around them. But despite their main purpose, never do I actually see myself in them. Why is that? Well, the answer to this is simple. Silent protagonists aren't actually a good device to directly involve the audience. Although customization is available for some games, there are many that actually don't give you the option to change the appearance of your character. For the most part, you're only given the choice of gender and name. This can be seen in both Three Houses and Genshin Impact, with the characters of Byleth and the Traveler. You can't change the color of their hair, eyes, or skin. You're just stuck with what's given to you. These designs are a bit problematic for a number of reasons. The first one being, well, very few probably match their appearances. Let's take me as an example. Try to imagine a tiny Asian girl with slight gremlin energy. Now compare that to Byleth and the Traveler. Pretty different, right? So if they look nothing like me, how am I supposed to see myself in them? Another issue is the way the characters are designed, specifically the differences between male and female. Unfortunately, it's a common trend where the male protagonists are designed to be perfectly normal, while the female protagonists are uncomfortably sexualized. Three Houses is no different in this regard, as female Byleth's design makes me downright disgusted, so much that I pick male Byleth for every playthrough. So if I can't even play as the gender I identify with, what is there left to relate to? Oh, but just you wait, there's more. In some games, they give you the option to marry a character, so say you want to marry someone of the same gender. Well, that's too bad, because most of the time, you don't even get to have that option. If you want to romance a specific character, you're forced to play as the opposite gender. So if you're someone of the LGBTQ community, then there's not much wiggle room for you. Despite this being its entire purpose, it's difficult to make the main character really be you. The sheer lack of customization makes it feel like you're the one who's made to adapt to the character, rather than it being the other way around. The issue of silent protagonists is a polarizing topic, and this is simply my perspective. If you enjoy silent protagonists, then all the power to you. There's nothing wrong with enjoying them. After all, some of my favorite franchises, such as Pokemon and Animal Crossing, have them, and I can't imagine them any other way. I also recognize that creating the perfect character for all audiences to relate to is extremely difficult. Everyone is different in their own way, and there's really no way to tailor to everyone's taste. However, I think it's clear that there are some issues that need to be fixed within this specific trope. I understand that silent protagonists, as much as I dislike them, will never go away. In fact, they'll probably only grow in popularity with the success of Genshin Impact and the like. But if they're going to be a staple within video games, they need to be revolutionized in a way that makes them both convincing main characters that actively build upon the narrative and be properly inclusive to all audiences so that gamers can actually see themselves within them. Hi! If you're reading this probably means you finished the video. This is my first video essay on my channel, and I appreciate you sticking with me all the way to the end. If you enjoyed, then it would really help me a lot if you could like the video and subscribe to my channel, as there will be more videos on the way. Again, thank you so much, and I hope to see you next time.